A third of the people love you, a third don't care about you, and a third hate you. So you concentrate on the third that love you and you go for it.
I think the greatest Achilles heel for leaders is they don't give themselves time to think.
So my journey is one of those, like, there are a lot of detours. There's a lot of going off on the side roads.
Thrive Out listeners, you're in for a treat. We're here with Jamal Mashburn,
Jesse Itzler,
the John Maxwell,
Jackie the Joke Man Martling, New York Rangers great Mike Richter,
Lisa Lampanelli,
Mary Carrillo.
Oh, how nice.
I'm actually going through the practice of being an entrepreneur.
Pick yourself up, brush yourself off, and thrive loud.
Get ready to thrive loud with Lou Diamond.
I love it.
I don't know what to feel, but I know that I'm ill. It ain't just my sex appeal, or even that I'm real. But if you don't know the deal, let me show you the drill.
Welcome, everyone, to another episode of Thrive Loud with Lou Diamond, connecting you to the most inspiring and amazing people that are thriving each and every day. I'm your host, Lou Diamond. Today on Thrive Loud, we have a Dominican-born, Dallas, Texas-raised woman with a drive to succeed. She's followed her passion to New York City to sign a record deal under Motown and became a Grammy Award-nominated singer-songwriter, having written songs for and performed internationally with living legends. Searching to merge her creative love of music and her Stanford engineering background, she co-founded a video game startup providing inclusive gaming experiences with a community-based focus called COEXIST GAMING. Thrive Loud listeners, get your game on as we connect with Jaye Watts. Jay, how are you today?
I am so wonderful. Thank you. I'm thriving loud.
I like the way you're thinking. And I also know for the listeners who obviously know you have a music background, you go by another name, do you not?
I do. It's Letta J.
Letta J. So I want to understand how you merged all this together. It's one thing to pursue your dreams and follow your music career, but then to kind of almost hit the brakes in reverse gear and bring back all those passions together. How did that all happen?
That is such a wonderful question. And it has been the journey of my life. I have always tried to make my artist self and my engineering self coexist, hence the name of my company.
Right.
It's interesting because, people have a tendency to kind of put you in a box. We're such multifaceted creatures, but I think it's maybe difficult to understand when a person simply loves multiple things. And
right.
I've been musically inclined my entire life. So I started playing the violin when I was 5, and I played for 10 years, and I started playing the cello and the viola, which is just sort of natural progressions. And then I started playing the alto sax when I was 9, and then the piano when I was 12, and I've been singing my entire life. So music was a very natural just gift for me, and I've always loved music. But I've also always been great at math. So funny enough, they're not worlds apart to me. Music theory is a thing because music is very mathematical. So it wasn't like this far stretch for me to start understanding music in the form of not just sonically, but being able to sort of compute it, if you will.
Right.
So, honestly, I will admit, and I say this a lot on panels, I had to discover what really fulfills me, because I lived my life, a big part of it, with people sort of saying, oh no, you have to make the smart decision and do, the right thing. And you should major in things like engineering. And, I thought about majoring in math, honestly. And then someone told me, oh, you can't do anything with that except be a teacher. And I was like, I don't want to be a teacher. So I did major in math, and I ended up majoring in, initially computer science engineering. And then after a couple of courses of that, I was like, okay, so I definitely don't want to do this. And I was kind of like, do I have to sit in this cubicle the whole time? And so the thought of other aspects of engineering, from mechanical to electrical, civil, industrial, they were interesting to me, and what I enjoyed was circuitry. I just kind of liked the idea that it was kind of representative of the facets we have as humans. And the moment you start diving into them and understanding them, it's kind of like unraveling this very complex puzzle. And so it was such a metaphor that was applicable to my life. I was like, oh, I guess I'll do this. So fast forward, to me having pretty much every job offer and internship in the world available to me. I had so many internships, and I was a part of this amazing organization called Inroads that would place high school seniors to college juniors right in the middle of Fortune 500 companies.
One of my closest friends was a graduate of that program years and years ago.
I love hearing that. I was the president of the Dallas-Fort Worth affiliate, and
very cool.
That program really changed my life. Because of those internships, I realized that I did not want to be an engineer. And it was a little late just because the journey had ensued, but I was like, you know what, I'm going to take advantage of this opportunity and I'm going to pursue something I do love. And against everyone calling me crazy and dumb, I thought you were smarter than this. I just moved to New York, didn't know anyone, didn't really tell anyone. And I just was kind of like, well, I guess it's now or never.
So you came to New York.
Mm-hmm.
How soon thereafter did your music career take off?
You know what? It's interesting because I moved to New York. I met a guy. This is really funny. I met a guy who was an intern at Bad Boy, Diddy's old studio, on MySpace.
Oh my God.
And he was like, yo, whenever you come to New York, and I had never been to New York. He said, whenever you come to New York, make sure you hit me up. So I literally texted him. I said, hey, I moved to New York. And he's like, what? When? I was like, today. So the day that I moved there, I went to the studio and I was at Daddy's house, and it was an awful experience because I had gotten scammed out of an apartment the first day I moved here. And
you're not the first.
I know. I learned it. This was a welcome to New York. This is a thing. And so the only thing that made me feel better was knowing that I could do the one thing that I came here to do, that I loved, and I knew one person. And I was in the studio, and that in that session, I ended up writing a song that was introduced to a producer, and I ended up writing several other songs for Cassie and Danity Kane and just kind of a lot of people that were signed under Bad Boy Records. So it was just like, that was the journey for me. It became very real that I was in this city that I never thought I'd live in, that I didn't even imagine that I would have the faith in myself really to step out and just kind of go against the grain and start pursuing music in a real way.
We'll play some of your music on the show. We did some in the opening, obviously, when I introed you, and we'll do some at the back. I want to ask this question: when you're this mathematical and musical mind, there's one thing to compose and create that music that way, but there's another skill of being able to perform. Mm-hmm. Which do you like doing better?
You know, it's very interesting. It's hard for me to separate them. I am a natural performer. I started speaking in oratorical competitions when I was 4. So being on stage is very much a happy place for me. I feel just like really comfortable, honestly connecting with people. That is the most rewarding part of it. So it's not that I prefer one over the other. I just appreciate them differently. So the creative process is, it's the pregnancy, you're excited about it. You can't wait to give birth. You take the good with the bad, the ups and the downs, the morning sickness, all that stuff. I've never been pregnant, but I've heard the stories, and so, but the goal is, you're trying to appreciate the journey because you understand the final result is a life-changing experience. And so every time I'm on stage, I tell a lot of my fans, it's me cutting my heart out, putting on a platter and telling you to look at it, because it's my most transparent, most honest self. And if I'm not connecting with people on that stage, then I'm doing myself, the music, as well as them a disservice.
Performing, creating, and then you've sort of transformed that into a place where you're coexisting. Explain where the idea or the spark came for creating COEXIST Gaming, because gaming is hot in so many different ways, but you've taken a very unique approach on how to tackle this.
Yes. Well, I've always been a gamer. So I've literally been playing video games since I was about 6 years old. And I grew up, my best friend was my cousin. We're 9 days apart. So I grew up around a lot of boys, and of course I went through a massive tomboy phase and I played sports. But for me, the only way to really become closer with them, because I was the only girl, was to be good at something that they were good at. And so I took a natural interest to video games, but I was naturally competitive. I wanted to be good at it, and I wanted to win, and I wanted to beat them. So video games kind of became, I kind of became the girl that played video games, even when I was younger. And when I moved to New York, my now business partner was my songwriting partner, or is my songwriting partner. We still write records together. We would, after we would leave the studio, we would go to my place or his place and literally play video games. And I had an opportunity to go on tour in Asia. And so I was in Japan for a month and in China for a week. And I went to Akihabara and I brought him with me because this was just like an opportunity of a lifetime. And we're looking at this 7-story building that was full of video games. And I'm talking about, we were there for easily 10 hours on the different floors. Like, we were streaming on my Instagram. They had the Walking Dead arcade machine with the crossbow and everything. And I was streaming it, and everyone on my Instagram is like, mind you, it's like, 12, 15-hour difference, right? So it's like 4 o'clock in the morning somewhere else, and we're just wide awake. And they're like, where are you? I'm like, I'm in Japan. It's so great. But when I came back to the States, between the two of us, we had close to 1,500 video games. And I said, we're playing video games. We're playing Halo, right? And so I said, we should throw a video game party. And he's like, what? How would we do that? And I have a really cool apartment. My apartment is really creative. I have 3 rooms upstairs. It's like a green room, an orange room, a blue room. And they're color themed. So like the green room literally has a green fridge. It's like, whatever, my creative self, if I could take a magical paintbrush and paint a room with different color. And so I was like, why don't we make the green room the Xbox room, and the blue room the PlayStation room, and the orange room the Nintendo room? And he's like, okay, I like where this is going. And so we literally invited some friends over to play video games with us. And we said we were going to make it different, though, than all of the other gaming conventions we went to, where one, I would always get stared at because I was a girl. And, I would wear like cool tights or, my hair, whatever it was, because I'm an artist. And so I kind of looked different than I guess what some of the gamers thought I should look like. And I'm like, hey, can I play? And they're like, play what? I'm like, dude, the video game. That's what we're here for. So we created this energy that made people feel like they could compete, but if they lost, they still won. And it was collaborative, and it was competitive, and the music was awesome, and there was food, and there was beverage, and we were literally coexisting, regardless of what you did, what your profession was. I could be playing next to a guy who's like an investment banker. I could be playing with someone who, worked for like UPS. And we're all here because gaming is meant to cause and create synergies, right? Not cause division. And so that one experience exponentially grew. And in less than a year, we ended up growing a community of over 2,000. Sorry.
No worries.
Darn it. T-Mobile.
T-Mobile.
I know. We grew a gaming community of over 2,000 people. And we built a business around it, because what we realized was the gaming industry and the gamers that make up the gaming industry really need an outlet, really crave a sense of community. And it was something that we wanted to provide for ourselves, as well as people that were interested in coming together to play video games. And since, I brought a lot of women to my game house, just because, it's like, look, if you're competitive, this is a great way for release. But in the same likeness, you can also find calm in video games. I play some games because they're mindless and it relaxes me. So there are just a lot of synergies that can be explored from exploring a video game. And I want to open the possibility up to people that may be close to it.
Jay, let me ask this question.
Yeah.
As it relates to the games that you have under COEXIST Gaming Platform, how involved are you in the types of games that you're bringing forth?
Oh, super involved. I'm involved in everything. I've given my co-founder he has the title of COO. He is the operating officer, but I'm still the CEO. I get to be like, that's cool, but this might be cooler. No, I'm very much involved because it's just important to me that we appeal to the entire gamut of gamers. So you've got the pro level gamers, and we definitely want them to be satiated, and we do that by preserving the integrity of the gaming experience. But then I also want casual gamers and women to feel very comfortable. So it's important that we provide experiences that are not as competitive. If you're not a gamer, you can still come to our event and have fun. So we have board games, and we have, puzzles, and we have billiards, and we have games that are not even just video games. I want everyone there coexisting.
Jay, has gaming been something, not video games, but just before the video games stage, has gaming been something that's been in you for a long time, like playing competitive games?
I mean, before video games, I was like in the womb, it feels like. but yeah, for sure. I mean, in a matter of speaking, I feel like I've played sports and games my entire life. I've played basketball since I was 7. I ran track. I grew up in Texas, so it's very sports centric. And I've always just really been athletic. Gaming was kind of my silent pleasure, believe it or not. It wasn't a popular thing. It wasn't, something like I did well in school, so my mom would let me play video games as my treat, but I kind of had to earn it because it was a thing like, oh, you're just wasting time, on the TV. And I didn't watch television really growing up, so I would be on television playing Nintendo like all the time.
Jay, do you incorporate any of your music into any of the games you develop?
Oh, I'm so glad you asked. So prior to now, I have not, because obviously I just, again, it was like my silent pleasure. But I'm very excited that I actually wrote a song called Patron. And I'm more excited because I have written songs in Spanish for other artists, but never really embraced songs that were in English and Spanish for myself. And so I created a song, Patron, and it's Patron for, it means boss.
Right.
It's really celebrating empowered women who just run stuff and are killing it in the game, and embracing everything about your femininity and your sexy and all of it. And I'm working with a very good friend of mine, Wendy, who I adore. And we're definitely working on integrating some music into several games. Yes. So I'm excited that we'll be licensing some music in a couple of games. I can't quite say them now because it's not locked in, it's not set in stone yet. But in addition to just licensing music, which is, really commonly done, I'm excited to be formulating some partnerships with major gaming manufacturers where I'm developing a video game. And so, yeah, I'm excited.
Awesome. So I want to get a taste of what that's like, by the way. I'm going to have to play one of these games in here in my own experience here. But I also want to know a little bit more about you, Jay. So on the days when you're not kicking on all cylinders, which, by the way, I'm kind of putting you in like this Steve Martin category. Remember, like Steve Martin was, yes, he was a comedian. Yes, he was an actor. He also was a songwriter. He was a musician. He was a stage person. He had so many different things. You couldn't put him in a box. I get that feeling that, Jay, that's kind of like you, which is, pretty unbelievable. You have all these things, but every now and then you have what I'll call a not so good day. You're not firing on all cylinders. When you have trouble thriving, who or what practice do you seek to get yourself back on the thriving track?
That's a great question. And I'm really glad you asked, because it's important to me that people know no one's always firing on all cylinders all the time. I exhaust myself all the time. But, I practice yoga, and, while I do work like 25/8, I do have moments where I'll just, I go to the spa. I try to remove myself from everything that is my life. I mean, I literally live in a game house, to just step away, for a little bit. Because like I said, I live in a game house, right? So I'm surrounded by music and gaming. And while they're both fun, they are both businesses. So I do have to tear myself away sometimes. And I just kind of escape a little bit, every now and then, maybe every couple months, I'll book a trip, somewhere and just kind of get an Airbnb and take it all in.
Oh, I like it. Jay, let's do the admin part of the show here. Share with the listeners all the places people can find you. They can find COEXIST Gaming. We'll put all the notes in the show notes, but it always comes better when they hear it from you.
Absolutely. So you can find me. So for one thing, my primary hub for me personally is Letta Music. It's my website. It's Letta J Music. Everything is Letta J Music. So my Instagram, Snapchat, Twitter, all that good stuff. You can also go to coexistgaming.com. Our Instagram is COEXIST Gaming. Please definitely check it out. The community is incredible. If everybody wants to be a part of something really fulfillment, to be a part of a movement that's growing exponentially, we host everything from massive esports tournaments that are both competitive and cooperative to providing a safe space for gamers where we have thousands of people that trust us with hours of their lives to just come and connect and build and grow and coexist.
I like it. We're going to go down Fun Street now, Jay, because I know you can handle it. Although I know you were stressing about some of this stuff. Let's do one of the signature questions here on Thrive Loud.
Okay.
What's your all-time favorite movie, Jaye Watts?
Oh my God. That's such a tough question because I think of everything that I saw recently, like within the last couple months. I'm going to just say Get Out just because I love how controversial the movie was. It was also hilarious. The TSA guy was everything.
It was scary, by the way, that movie.
It was pretty scary. And they had me fooled, I have to admit.
It was quite a unique, warped way of looking at the world. That's for sure. And of course, that director has gotten tremendous play ever since that movie. So that's pretty cool. Yeah. Okay.
Yes.
You are a musician.
I am.
And you have helped to perform for some icons around the world and helped to write songs. Is there one, like the one that you feel is kind of like you pat yourself on the back, like, oh my God, I got to create something for this particular artist? Is there one that makes you go, wow, I can't believe I did that? Any one of those that sticks out for you?
Yeah, I wrote a song. Actually, I wrote it years ago. It was a song called Journey. And a friend of mine sent it to India Ari, who was one of my favorite artists. She loves the song. But I ended up meeting Brandy's mother. And Brandy was a massive icon of mine. And so her mother played the song for her and she loved it and was going to record the song for her album. She ended up not putting the album out, but I was just so honored to meet her on multiple occasions and have an opportunity to even be considered to be on her project because she was just a really iconic artist for me, starting so young and just, really being such an incredible vocalist, great writer, and beautiful person. So that was a really special moment for me.
That's really cool. And I can imagine you getting a little starstruck in that first time.
I was like, oh my God, you know who you are.
So one last one here, and that's going to be a tough one for you.
Mm-hmm.
One that's not necessarily one of your games for COEXIST, but does Jaye Watts have a favorite video game that she loves to play?
That's so funny. I get asked this question so much, and I'm always torn. I play a lot of fighting games.
Okay.
So Tekken 7 and 5, Dark Resurrection are among my favorites, and I play Soul Calibur. I was going to put this out there so people know if they want that smoke. I play Soul Calibur, Dead or Alive, Street Fighter, and Third Strike, but right now, believe it or not, Dead or Alive 6 is one of my favorite games.
I think I've only played one of those, but
it
makes me feel like, it makes me feel a little older on the same sense, but it is awesome. I think these games are incredible. We had the founder of an amazing technology, the founder of Brazil, come on the program, and they built a virtual reality soccer training tool. And I mean, you literally feel like you're kicking a soccer ball and you're practicing the skills that you need to. And when you see where gaming is going and all the potential that's there and connecting all those pieces together, all those creative aspects, you need someone like yourself who has that, let's make this room this color, and have that way of thinking that's a little out of the box, because that's the type of atmosphere and energy that these games bring, and they're amazing. So we're pretty psyched that we had you on today, Jaye Watts. This has been pretty awesome.
Thank you. I'm definitely honored to be here. Thank you for providing this platform with everything that's necessary.
Jaye Watts, we will put all the links in the show notes, and thank you so much for coming on the program today.
Thank you so much. Have a great day.
And to all our Thrive Loud listeners out there, thank you for joining us. And until next time, keep thriving onward and upward. And remember, be brief, be bright, be gone.
When they see me coming, queening, they know me. Solo hay un nombre, llámame patrón. Sitting on my throne. It's good for your bones. I'm better on. Llámame, yo no tengo no voto. Cogiste mi curso casi, tú me comes mi pulpo. No quiero excusa, papi. No te metes con la cabra tiene flow. Voy a malecón. Tengo mi calico. Yo quiero comer carne, papi.
You've been listening to Thrive Loud with your host, Lou Diamond. Make sure to subscribe wherever you listen to your podcasts and check us out on the web at thriveloud.com or follow us on Instagram, LinkedIn, Twitter, and Facebook at Thrive Loud.